So Nathan, I'm interested in hearing your story. You even pointed this out a little bit ago that you're a bit unique among the guests that we've had on the show so far, in that you've seen success in your WordPress and Divi related businesses, to be sure, but they're not actually your day job. You don't have to tell everyone where you work, but I think everybody would be interested in knowing what the connection is with your day job and how that affects what you do in WordPress.
Yeah, it's kind of been this weird, unnatural just progression into this whole freelance stuff. I've worked with a small group of developers, actual developers that do not to diminish anybody else out there, but do .NET, C Sharp, the hardcore guys.
Yeah, yeah.
They still have the big old books with the library and all that kind of mess. So anyway, those are the guys that I've worked with for the last 12 years, and I've done application support. I've been the front end guy. They write a whole bunch of custom software for the apartment industry. That's kind of who we're after.
Oh, okay.
And so I do their frontline support. I have for the last 12 years. And it's just, like I said, been a natural progression into carrying over what I do there into my freelance stuff. So, yeah, and I've done, in addition to the support, I've done some UI design too.
Oh, okay.
And so I picked up a lot of skills just, over time, learning from those guys, seeing what they do, and picking up a little bit of it myself.
Awesome. I'm particularly interested in the work that you have been doing with Gruffy Goat. I see you got your goat mascot up above you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I
told my little 6-year-old he would get some FaceTime today. So
that's awesome. I was wondering if you could tell us the origin story of the Gruffy Goat brand and company, and that could maybe kickstart our conversation about how you do customer care.
Yeah. A lot of people start from the beginning. A lot of people ask me where the name came from. Honestly, he's a little mountain goat that my little guy picked up at a petting zoo back when he was 2 or 3 years old, and he loves the story of the three Billy Goats Gruff. And so a lot of people ask me where the name came from. We used to reenact it. He would read it, let me read it to him all the time, and that's where the name came from. So I'm all about keeping things personable, and we'll get to that later too. But that's kind of the origin of where the name came from, anyway. And as far as my journey into Gruffy Goat, it kind of, just to back up a little bit, I started playing with WordPress, around 2008 when I just had WordPress.com, it's a blog. Mm-hmm. And, I started tinkering around with .org shortly thereafter, picked up a Woo Themes subscription competitor. I know, I'm sorry. I picked up a Woo Themes subscription, started blowing apart their themes and just seeing how everything was kind of structured and laid out. And it taught me so much. You're just kind of doing that, tinkering around, just with my own blog site. That's all I was doing, was just my blog. And, fast forward a couple of years, this is getting a little odd. I know you have a cat. I think I just saw him darting across the screen there. I don't know if you ever heard of cat groomers.
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Wait, cat groomers? Like
cat groomers, yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't used one before, but I know that they exist.
Well, a friend of mine who is a creative director of a small agency down here, his sister-in-law started the National Cat Groomers Institute of America.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing. Believe it or not. So, no joke, people from all over the world, China, Japan, Australia, England, they will come from all over the place to learn how to groom cats from her. So he would come into the school, and he kind of created his own little business here. He would teach them how to start their own businesses, how to go back to wherever they lived and start their own cat grooming businesses or dog grooming or whatever they want to do. And part of that spiel was how to have a successful website, how to market yourself. And so anyway, that really blew up for him. And over time, he got so busy that he kind of just passed it off to me. So those are my first clients for cat grooming clients. I know it's kind of, talk about a weird niche. Totally is. But man, they've been great clients. It's funny, but that's kind of where I started, and how I got involved with website stuff and starting clients and all that. So
you've evolved quite a bit since then, it seems, because you're not really, now it seems like you have a very deliberate process. You have a very deliberate way that you approach both attracting clients and managing the clients that you have. And that's really something I wanted to talk about, which is, you do design and development of course, but in a lot of ways, the real thing that you're selling, the real value that you bring, both figuratively and literally, as the Gruffy Goat brand, is your customer care and support.
Right.
And I noticed as I was looking over the website, there are a lot of ways that, if you're looking for it, like I was, that you can actually see that dedication to customer experience, both before and after, the purchase points. And I'd like to start talking about customer care specifically by talking about the ways you try to create customer experience before a purchase is made.
Yeah, it like I said, it just kind of came about naturally. The site kind of has progressed over time. It started out a little rough because I didn't know what I was doing, or didn't really. I was trying to offer everything, and it wasn't me. And I was trying to pretend to be somebody I wasn't, and trying to pretend to do the agency thing, and just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So this last iteration of Gruffy Goat, it was just all about getting back to what I do and explaining that. It was more about the content more than how it looked. And, for me, my whole business is structured around, being a partner to my clients and an ongoing resource to them, not just the, smash and grab web design, you're out the door. It's about, kind of winning that customer for life for me, which is kind of a different, I don't know, maybe a little bit different journey for me than, your typical entrepreneur, freelancer, whatever. But, just to give you a good example, a good example of that is the first cat grooming client I had. She's actually still with me today. And, it's been cool. She, kind of tested out a lot of stuff on her. She was my guinea pig, but, she's got 3 sites with me now. And all with a support plan. I offer a support plan called Lifetime Support. Just another way to kind of cue in on this is more than just website. I'm going to be here. I'm going to answer your emails, whatever you need. You can email me anytime. Yeah. But like I said, she's got 3 websites with me now, getting ready to add a 4th, all with support plans. And, honestly, I don't think it's as much of the website that has done it. It's more the convenience that she knows she can email me at any time and know it's going to get done. Yeah. And for me, that's kind of how I took that whole experience, and to bottle it up, that's kind of how I re-envisioned the current Gruffy Goat site. It's just kind of that journey I take people through of, starting from day one, what can I offer, and, getting them through to that website stage, and then offering them that lifetime support to, take that to the next level and be a resource to them going forward in the success of their company.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about next, which is, I think the other area, besides creating a customer journey that gets someone to the point where they're ready to buy, once they're on board, you have a really specific process that you walk people through. And the first stage of that process is called listen. Can you explain what happens in that stage?
Yeah, another thing. My background is in college. I was a counseling major, so it's another thing that kind of just took its natural progression, I guess. Something I like to listen to people more than talk. Doing something like this is way outside my comfort zone, but that's honestly my first step. And I mean, nobody just takes the time to shut up and listen anymore. I mean, everybody wants to talk, everybody wants to get their point across. But if you will take the time to listen, I mean, you'll quickly earn your client's trust. And you're not just going to be a service provider to them. You'll be kind of an irreplaceable extension of their business. So that's been a huge step for me. And again, it's just something that came naturally to me. But I mention it on the site just because it's very important to me.
Yeah, and when I looked at the description of what you do during that stage, it's not that what you're actually accomplishing in that stage is anything groundbreaking or new. No. But framing it as this is my time to listen to you is really different than what most other people do, because most other people, whether intentionally or not, the message the message that gets put across is this is where you listen to me be an expert on this topic and tell you what you need. And that might actually happen in your case at some point down the road, but the first step is listen. And I think people really, I can imagine people really appreciate that.
Well, you got to take into consideration too who you're going after. I mean, I'm dealing with small mom and pop shops, nonprofits, ones that have limited budgets, and I'm cool with that. I don't want to go after the agency stuff. I'm not competing with them. So you're different. I mean, you're dealing with a very different customer base there, and kind of the expectations. Who I'm dealing with, they just want somebody to listen to them. They want a great looking site, and they want somebody to be able to email or call or text whenever they need something going forward. So it's very different. I mean, it may not work well for the big agencies or whatever, but it works for me.
The rest of your process consists of 3 stages: plan, design, and deliver. How do you keep customer care and experience at the forefront throughout the rest of that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's about being responsive through that whole time frame, being able to listen to what they want to do with their site, and kind of sketching that whole thing out in that plan process. And throughout the design process, same way. You're at least I do. I kind of structure my whole site and plan template around what their overall goals are, what they want to achieve, and who their customer base are, and all that kind of stuff. And it's still about listening throughout that whole process and being responsive to whatever it is they're trying to achieve and their goals.
Cool. So from what I understand, up until the point that you deliver the website, you've actually, because, and we said this earlier, but just to point it back out to everybody, you collaborate with a team. Your focus is, some front end development, and then primarily the customer care and like guiding people through this process. After that process is over, you personally continue to use your customer care and support skills to retain those clients with your hosting and your support packages. Can you maybe talk for a little bit about what that process looks like, what the ongoing support process looks like, and why providing those services have been a good move for you?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I call it lifetime support. And for most people, it's, what they call their maintenance plans. In addition to the regular maintenance stuff, like your hosting, your domain services. I do plugin updates. I use WP Engine for everything. So I'm not doing a ton there. It kind of manages itself for the most part. And I use main WP to kind of do some of those plugin updates. So I'm not, when I say I'm doing a whole lot of that stuff during the month, it's actually really not a lot once you have it all set up. So basically that whole lifetime support thing, in addition to that regular maintenance stuff, is me responding to emails or text or whatever. And, again, being responsive. And that's that lifetime support. And it's been a huge selling point for me. I was talking to somebody on one of the forums the other day, and they were saying how they don't care if the website that they build for their clients breaks or not after the fact. And I'm like, I just don't understand that mentality, I guess, because it's just a bad attitude to take. I mean, if you're setting your clients up for failure from the time you deliver the site to them, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion.
And that goes back to the reputation talk we had earlier.
Exactly.
You're really shooting yourself in the foot if your websites are breaking and no one can get a hold of you or get fixes or just get a response.
I mean, if you're just, if you're on freelancer.com or something like that, I can understand. But I mean, if you're trying to set up a long-term a business and that kind of thing, you got to look past the day-to-day and see, the long-term value of your client. So, which has kind of been successful on my end of things too.
Yeah. And we've actually talked a lot about, we've mentioned that this has been successful for you, and we've talked about a bit about what you do for customer care. But for those out there who maybe don't see the business end of it, they're like, well, I already do good work and I don't really see how going crazy on the customer support and care is going to actually improve my bottom line. Talk a bit about the business model of this lifetime support package and what that's been like for you, and
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's my thing. It's what I love to do. So like I said, it's been a very natural progression and just offering it. But, for a lot of people, if it's not your thing, partner with somebody who loves the support. I mean, it's going to be, I guess, difficult to find some of us.
I guess what I'm talking about specifically is not just deciding to offer it, but like but seeing the business value in it. So like, what do you charge? What do the payments
All
look
right.
like? How does that build up over time? Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. When I first started offering back, again, with a cat client, I started it back from day one. Back then it was $25 a month, which that doesn't translate for very long, So once I added on WP Engine, which, isn't the cheapest thing out there, but I had more stuff and more services to offer just in doing that. And so the price point went up to, my base now is around $50 a month. And it includes, hosting, includes that domain. It's basically I bundle everything up into one package. So they're only paying me for anything they need website related. They're not having to remember to pay the GoDaddy bill or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is just with me. I take control of that for them. So, that's a value add to them too. And, it has evolved for me over the years too, as far as what services I offer with different packages. I have 3 different ones, kind of a basic, a popular, and e-commerce. With e-commerce, it's around now $100 a month. And again, I'm doing very, very similar things in each of those, but I'm able to offer a little bit more, custom tailored stuff with the e-commerce than I am with, say the basic package that doesn't need as much. So hopefully that kind of answers the question.
Yeah. And how many clients do you need and these are monthly recurring payments, correct?
They are.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
I jumped on that whole train kind of before it got popular, because before I started doing this, Adobe hadn't really started doing that yet either. They haven't switched. And you see Microsoft doing it now. It's before that whole subscription-based model was kind of huge, and it's been big for me. I mean, a lot of my friends were like, $25 a month, $50. I mean, what's that going to do? How are you going to make a living off of that? But that was 2 years ago. I've added, 50, 60 clients, and at that rate, it starts to add up.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing this on the side, not doing it full time. So, I mean, it's been a big value add to me, but also to the clients that I work with too.
And you mentioned that the time that this takes once it's set up, I mean, obviously it's always going to take time when you're answering emails and phone calls and texts and things like that. But on the whole, or on average, how much time a day or week do you spend doing this support work, doing this website maintenance?
Yeah, well, I mentioned main WP. They've been huge for me as far as the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance. So that cut back a lot once I installed that. But as far as, responding and answering emails and phone calls, it's maybe a couple hours a month. It's really not that bad. I mean, of course, just depends on who your client base is. I mean, some people can be a real pain in the ass, but I mean, I've been lucky. I've been super lucky in that. And I guess, for me, it's all about, when they first approach me too about wanting my services, I can kind of get a good sense for whether or not they're going to be a good fit for me, in addition to, vice versa.
Having worked in customer service a long time, you've probably got a pretty keen sense for who's going to be a problem customer.
And those old psychology classes back in college, it kind of paid off too, just kind of knowing some people and kind of knowing knowing where that's headed, before it gets started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not long ago, we published an article on the Elegant Themes blog called 10 Essentials of Brand Enhancing Customer Support. I was hoping to maybe read off a few of those main points and have you speak to each one with some of the thoughts or lessons that you've learned along those lines. Sure. The first one's called Make It Easy to Reach You. How important is that, and what does it look like in your business?
Yeah, that's evolved a little bit for me. I used to just publish my cell phone down there at the bottom of the screen on the website. And then it got a little crazy, and people were bugging me during supper and while I was reading books to the kids, so that didn't work out too well. So I went and got a Google Voice number, just as a nice way to screen clients. And there's probably other things out there that do the same thing. But for me, it's been kind of very simple, just setting up the email and kind of routing it in its own little place. Same way for phone calls, that kind of thing. That way I can get it to them on my time, as opposed to, being interrupted all throughout the day.
What are some steps that anyone listening right now who's interested in being more reachable, what are some things that they can do for their clients and customers?
Yeah, well, honestly, just kind of getting yourself out there, just letting them know that you're available. People love to hear that, and they don't hear it a lot. Customer support, service, good service, that kind of thing is just not something that a lot of people market. So if you don't have it on your site that, you will provide support, or however you want to phrase it. I mean, it looks different for everybody. But I put it right on the site, that I'm offering this and I'm going to prove to you that I'm going to be good at it. So, I mean, like I said, it looks differently for everybody, but just putting it out there for people to see.
And at a certain stage, I think
they'll ask you about it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will. And you kind of touched on it there a second ago. You said you're going to prove to them that this is something you can do. At the end of the day, does it kind of boil down to that? Do you just have to go decide, like, I am going to offer killer customer support, and even if I don't really want to do something at a certain time, I'm just going to make sure it gets done?
Absolutely. I mean, you just got to do it. Yeah, it's really quite simple. I mean, I actually worked with and just to give a good example, me and SJ kind of worked together on a project this past summer, and this guy, super nice guy, but he came from an agency that promised him the moon, that he couldn't ever get a hold of the company to fix problems, just simple things that would take no time at all to fix. But this guy came to us and was like, guys, please help me with this. Will you just respond to my email? Let me know that you're going to do it. And he got an email. He got a phone call from me within 5-10 minutes of the time that he emailed us, and it just blew him away that I would take the time out of my schedule to contact him right away and respond. People just want you to respond. So it's just, I mean, if you do it, you're going to blow people's mind. It's really kind of simple.
That's actually one of our other points here. I'll get to in just a second. Number 2 is have knowledgeable reps. This seems like a no-brainer, but it's difficult too because very few people are actually experts in all things WordPress. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How do you navigate that kind of sort of minefield of different topics that you may or may not be an expert in that people are going to need help with?
Well, it kind of boils down to, at least for me, kind of developing that sense of community. And, the Divi Facebook groups have been awesome for that. We've got several groups going now. It's kind of hard to keep track of, but creating kind of just a core group of people that are experts in different things that you can go to for help on any particular thing. I mean, SJ's got a JavaScript guy that I use, Mark Hughes, I believe. And so he's my kind of default JavaScript guy now when I have JavaScript questions. I've got another guy that loves to build WordPress stuff from scratch. So he's done it all over the years. So you just set up yourself, surround yourself with a community of people that are experts in other things that you're not.
Yeah.
And for me, I took it a step further and partnered with a lot of them.
That's what I was going to be my next question is how do you manage that? Because if you're constantly going to the community and particularly very specific people with highly technical questions, at some point they're going to be like, okay, well, I really want to be your buddy and help you out, but you could also maybe like throw me some cash from time to time.
Oh yeah. Well, and I do. I do. A lot of times when I partner actually on a project, it's a back and forth mutual agreement type thing where, we're splitting the cost of the project. That's what SJ and I did on this past one this summer. So we let him kind of handle some of him and Mark do the JavaScript stuff, and he actually wound up just redoing the whole site. And so it was a value add for both of us.
I guess I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that, as far as, offering or just trying to get support from other people, it's just kind of a back and forth type thing. I help people out a lot too on CSS related things. I've kind of gotten to know CSS pretty good over the years. So it's just kind of a back and forth, just developing that sense of community. You kind of just help and share with each other.
And you mentioned that you split project costs with people. What happens if, say, you're offering the support and maintenance for a website, someone's using their $100 a month subscription to ask you questions? How do you then go about going, well, that's out of my range of expertise. I need to bring someone else in. That seems like it might be a bit harder to share those costs. How do you manage that?
Well, honestly, for me, I have a very specific kind of target market I go after. So I haven't had to go beyond what I'm capable of too much. I did with some of the JavaScript stuff, but it hasn't happened for me too much because like I said, I kind of filter out a lot of the people that are coming to me needing support. And I really, kind of get the details of what this project is going to, include. And if it's something that's a little bit beyond the scope, from the get-go, I'll partner with somebody and we'll split the cost on something. But it's like I said, I'm trying to filter out a lot of that stuff. So if I can't, if it's a project it's well beyond my scope or reach, I'm just going to pass it off completely to, SJ or Gino or whoever, and I've done that quite a bit here recently with SJ. There's been some stuff that either I don't have the time to do or it's just a little bit beyond, since he does have a JavaScript guy on hand, just go ahead and let him do it. And, we'll kind of share the workload there.
That's cool. That's very cool. So the third one, which we kind of already talked about, was respond in a timely manner. And you shared your story. And I guess I'll just give that a big affirmative on my end too, because even as someone who is in the social media for Elegant Themes a lot, responding to people, nothing seems to make people feel angry or undervalued quicker than a slow response time. And, just to reiterate what you said earlier, I think that's definitely something that really is appreciated, it's valued, and if it's not there, can actually start to hurt you pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I've seen. I mean, I had, a client today contact me and, it was one of those situations where there's just a lack of communication, I guess, with whoever I handed off the project to, no fault of their own or anything. It's just one of those things, even if you pass the project off to somebody else, you still kind of have to own that client and make sure you're responsible for the success of that project, whatever it is.
Yeah. So the next one is preempt common problems. And I suppose this might be as simple as providing useful FAQs or forums or documentation, but that's not exactly a personal touch and it may not cover everything. So I'm wondering if that's something that you try to do. Are there ways that you try to preemptively deal with common issues in a way that leaves people feeling taken care of?
Yeah, and that's something that I need to do a better job at because I have so much going on that I haven't taken the time to work on my own site to add those FAQ type things. So for me, honestly, it's been a matter, very rudimentary stuff here, but just responding to emails whenever they have questions, that kind of thing. I need to add my own FAQ section. Obviously, that would be helpful of being able to respond to some of those common questions and issues. But it's going to be different for every project. Not everybody has the same scope or same thing going on. So, but yeah, that's one thing I do need to prove on myself is just kind of creating that own FAQ section so I don't have to spend so much time responding to emails, that kind of thing. But for me, it's been a more personal touch is creating videos, like how-to videos.
I was going to say that's one of the things I noticed in your support was, some help, not necessarily documentation, but it was like courses, I think you said, or training, basic training.
Yeah, we will do join.me is a free resource that, it's free and you can pay for it too. But just to do a screen share and actually walk through their site together and explain how to update content within Divi. It's not hard. I could probably do just one video to show them how to use Divi, but it makes it just a personal touch when you go through their site, show them what it looks like on the front end and how to update it from the back end and see the changes. And I'm dealing, like I said, my client base is very simple. They may not be tech savvy. So I'm spending a lot of time, on very simple stuff, but just, going through their own site. So it looks the exact same when they go in and log in, as opposed to, showing them somebody else's. It's a personal touch to see their stuff and those little modules and to know where they can update it. So that's been huge since I've been doing that.
That's awesome. And it seems like if you're able to do that well enough, you're actually, like the point says, you're preempting them coming back and taking up more time later on because you've thoroughly dealt with their issue in a way that empowers them to take care of it themselves in the future.
Right. And it's been cool since I have done those, screen shares. I haven't seen as many of the basic questions. So it has, saved a lot of my time, with some of those basic things.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, there's quite a few more in that article. There's actually 6 more points that we could talk about, but I think we're starting to get close to the end of our time limit on the interview. And at the end of each interview, I like to do something called the parting thought. And it's where I ask you as the Divi Nation guest host to leave us with some thought that encapsulates your take on our primary topic. And I'll set you up with a question so that make that a little bit easier.
Okay.
Today's topic has been creating a customer care centered business. So my final question, Nathan, is this. After looking through your website, the services you offer, and talking with you, it seems like great customer care is probably best described as a philosophy or a foundation that the rest of your business can be built upon, not necessarily something that is easily tacked on or outsourced to an existing business. If that's the case, and feel free to disagree with that, but if that's the case, how would someone go about, someone not currently focused on fully integrated customer care, how would they start down that path?
Well, you kind of just have to start with, is this my thing? Can I offer this? I mean, do I like providing support? I mean, if the answer is no, then obviously that's not your niche. So partner with somebody that maybe, that is their thing, and tack on to that. And, but, honestly for me, it just kind of, like I said, it was a natural progression for me. But if it's not, I mean, like I said, partner with somebody and, find a way to offer it, because there's a lot of value there and your customers need it. I mean, you can't, if you're just one of those smash and grab website designers, I mean, they're going to be coming back to you after the fact, and you're going to have more work, create more work for yourself if it's not something that you're offering from the start. So, I mean, if you offer it, you got to make sure you do it right, because that'll backfire too if you don't, going back to that whole reputation thing. So hopefully that that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nathan, I really appreciate you coming on Divi Nation, and I hope to see you around the community.
All right. Thanks, Nathan, for having me.
Don't forget, if you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook, take a moment to subscribe, follow, like, and/or share. It really helps. Thanks.